I think this is a good point to transition into our final topic of is Rex in the next episode? And we mentioned this 2 episodes ago, or maybe during the Cut Coin episode, so episode 2, right? So, I mean, look, let's be honest. Who doesn't want to see Rex? Rex is one of the all-time Star Wars characters at this point. He's a beloved clone. He may or may not be working with Ahsoka still, so that also, is a draw in of itself. Um, and ultimately, we do see him with Wolf and Gregor. As I mentioned in a previous episode, Filoni said that if it weren't for the Rebels budget, he would have had even more clones on the ATT in Rebels when they first appear. So we see in this Bad Batch trailer, he's working with the Bad Batch. And we thought maybe Rex could come in an episode or two. Obviously, these have just been Bad Batch, crisis of identity, figuring out what to do, how to work that medium between the criminal underworld, the Empire, Crosshair, Omega, all these different things that are pulling at them. But a reason why I think it's great to consider if Rex is in the next episode is that Wrecker is again complaining about the pain in his head from his chip. I don't think we got that last episode, because in which episode was it that they crashed and he hit his head? The third episode, right? So last episode, everything was fine. He got hit in the head again, obviously, by Fennec. So that might have made whatever symptoms he was having come back and flare up. But he's talking about it again. We haven't seen that scanner that Tech mentioned for about their brain chips be put in play. Hunter also seems a bit more anxious about what he's seeing, even if Wrecker is kind of waving it off. So I think right now the fear of is Wrecker going to turn, especially after all his cute dap up moments and everything with Omega. I think we're getting to the point where why not add another intriguing layer of frustration or sadness to the life that the Bad Batch live now? Why not make their life worse? Why not have his chip activate? And I don't think, because we've discussed this before, because there's no Jedi around for them to hunt, because the Bad Batch themselves aren't, the brain chip can't be used so far as we understand it to hunt down the Bad Batch themselves and turn them into the Empire or whatnot. That even if his chip activates of sorts, it's more that it's just going to affect his brain chemistry in a strange way, might make him a bit, out of shape, not the physical machine he is. Maybe he's a bit more like his motor function is reduced, or maybe he's just got mood swings. We don't really know how it's going to be, but if it's been hinted at this episode that the pain is still there, and if not worse, and maybe next episode is when Rex finally does show up, because really he's the only one that they know is a clone that's not part of the Empire besides of them. And at some point, yeah, they've guaranteed themselves a little bit of money right now from doing these jobs, but the most comfortable place to be is with a clone who understands why they left the Empire, why they're on the run, and that's Rex. I don't know what your thoughts are on Rex showing up in the next episode, but I think that small tease and just the fact that they've held off on that thread so far to kind of at least help the Bad Batch realize, just get their ship running and get them a few credits. Now it's okay, let's deal with the things that we've kind of been putting off to the side.
Right. I think a couple of weeks ago, I would have said, since this episode was so heavy with trailer stuff, I would have said, I think Rex will be not in episode 7, but episode 8. But I think now that they are kind of check marking all the stuff off of the trailers, and we really, Rex is the last thing from the trailers that we haven't seen. All the other shots, the last 2 episodes have been, I guess this episode and the Fennec episode were the majority of the trailer, and I guess episode 1. So now that Rex is the last thing, I really would like it to be the next episode, not just to see Rex, but to have a solid 9 episodes left of having no idea what's going to happen, because I think that's very cool. And they've done that for Mandalorian. And I think it's, to me, it's much more exciting to not know what's coming. And so because when this episode started and you started seeing the Zygerians, and then I immediately was like, okay, this is the one with the Rancor, because we had seen that stuff, and so I think that's one of the reasons why this episode kind of felt a little more underwhelming, is because a lot of it was from those trailers. But yeah, I would love to not to say to get rid of Rex, but I'd love to cross Rex off the list, so then we could just be like, we have no idea what's coming next. I don't think he'll be in the next episode, to be honest. I do think it's going to be episode 8, which will be the midway point through the season. That'll be the last thing we get, and then we'll still have the second half of this show with knowing nothing. But I think you're right with the Bad Batch needing to help Wrecker, and really the only person who knows about the chip is Rex. He's the only person who knows anything about it, and what he's learned is secondhand from Fives and from Ahsoka helping him take it out. And so I think if he is kind of the foremost authority that's not on Camino about inhibitor chips, then I think he's the guy they're going to try to find. And obviously, one of the reasons we talked about it when episode 2 came out with Cut LaQuaine was because Cut directly mentions that Rex came and he talked about the inhibitor chip. And so there's that association they've already set up of Rex and inhibitor chips, and him being the guy to go to if you need to figure out what's happening with your inhibitor chip. So they haven't talked about inhibitor chips in the last 2 episodes, which I find kind of interesting, because the first 3, they talked about it a lot. Even the one where Wrecker hit his head, I think right before that, Tech started talking about that he's researching ways to make sure their inhibitor chips don't do anything, and Omega knows all this stuff about them, but she kind of only answers it when they're trying to figure something out, because she thinks they know everything that she knows. And so I think we will get back to that plot as soon as we get back to Crosshair. And I would assume Crosshair is in the next episode, since we haven't seen him for 2 episodes. So maybe we get back to that, and then the end result of the next episode is Wrecker's starting to kind of lose it, and they say we need to find Rex, and then episode 8 we get Rex. But that would be my guess. But he very well could show up in the next episode, and I wouldn't put it past them, especially because the last 2 have been so trailer heavy.
Right. I mean, it is going to be that one lingering question, just because as fun of a group as these characters have really become, much more fleshed out, much less stereotype 80s heroes, action heroes of sorts. Now they're like 3-dimensional. Now they've got so many different things pulling at them in different ways, and they're just really in a survival mode so far. Just the fact that a chip can really destroy any semblance of normalcy within their group, as it has already with the whole show in the first place, for it to happen a second time, I mean, that's got to be traumatic. That's got to be difficult, especially now that they're all like almost like a family unit. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Rex is not going to be next episode. I want him in the next episode because I think there's just so much with Fennec and Kaminoans and Crosshair that I want to see them dominate a bit more of the future episodes, because we've so far just gone Bad Batch side quest episodes so far. Obviously I want Bad Batch plot based episodes soon too, but I think much of the plot is directly tied to characters like the Kaminoans and Crosshair. So until they start popping up, maybe Rex is a character that can pop up sooner. And I'm going to assume that Wolf and Gregor have to at least be addressed or seen at some point in the Bad Batch. Even if it's not in season 1, they got to be in season 2. And we have no clue where Gregor is. Is he still on that ice planet? It's way out in the middle of nowhere with another round of amnesia, and less treatment probably than before. Wolf is the one who probably has the most amount of PTSD out of everyone, but he's not there gunning down Plo Koon. So where is he? What is he doing? Is he still part of the Empire? Is he still not? Like, if the Bad Batch show is willing to just create a third whole angle and perspective where Rex kind of gets his own plot line, I would not be opposed to it. I would think it should be contained to a couple episodes and then picked up later in season two. But if they're willing to introduce that, I think that shows a commitment to long term internal storytelling that we haven't really seen in the animated shows other than just season long threads and more like finishing seasons of shows. Um, and I mean, in all honesty, I just want another reminder of what Five sacrificed. Still my favorite clone. Seeing how he affects the Dark Ages and Rex so directly, I think is just something I want to see as soon as possible, even if the story necessarily hasn't put us at the doorstep of that plot point being burst open.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see what they do moving forward, because they could just like dangle that thread, because that obviously that was the most exciting thing about the trailer. We were all excited to see Finnick, but I believe Finnick was already mentioned, or we saw concept art or something of her prior to the trailer. So when the trailer came out, we all expected Rex to be in the show, but when you saw a shot of him, you're like, oh my god, maybe he's actually a recurring character in this thing. And I think he will become a recurring character, but I don't think he will be season one, maybe.
Yeah, and
And
there's also the question of like now people have wondered after seeing him in the trailer, is he joining the crew at some point? Like even if it's not for the whole show, but like is he flying around with them for a bit? Who knows?
right. Yeah, so there's a lot to speculate on for the future. And I think really next episode will kind of crystallize how we can start to see the rest of the show progressing. And I believe really once we get Rex in the show, that's going to kind of set us on, this is what the rest of the show will be, and this is the direction they're going. And there's still when you kind of think about all the plot threads they're dangling, there really isn't much time for filler episodes, because we've got the Finnick stuff, we have the Kaminoans. What are they planning? What is Omega? What's actually her powers, or does she have, what's actually special about Omega? What are the Kaminoans going to do to combat their the Empire, trying to get rid of them? How is the Empire going to continue to form and create the Stormtrooper program? What's going to happen to Crosshair? When's Rex going to show up? All that type of stuff. There's still so many questions that it feels like almost each episode kind of sets up a new question that becomes more and more prevalent. And so I would hope that we're kind of close to being done with filler type stuff, and I'm sure we'll have 1 to 2 more episodes of it in the second half of the season. But I would like to guess that the next few are really going to at least answer questions. They're not going to answer all of them at the same time, obviously, but they're going to start answering more and more questions. And I think the first one to be answered will either be what's Rex's role in the show, or who hired Finnick, and if that character is important, is that character going to come more into play in the show? So there's a lot to look forward to for next week. Thanks so much for watching this segment of the Star Wars Lads podcast. If you enjoyed this content, please like the video by clicking the thumbs up button down below, and subscribe to our channel for new Star Wars content every single week. If you want to watch our full discussion, click the video on the left. Or if you want to check out one of our other awesome videos, click the video on the right.